Hello, everybody. We are here for the 170th episode of Real Hawk Talk. This is Brian Nemhauser at Hawk Blogger on Twitter, and your Seahawks did it. They beat the now last place San Francisco 49ers by a final score of 28-21, and we're going to have a lot to discuss about this victory. Before we get into the details, make sure you give the show a like, click subscribe, click the bell to get notified when we go live, because we do go live at random times, and go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. I want to welcome, if I can pull up the name real quick, Lawrence Richardson, our newest member of the Ring of Honor, joined just today on Patreon. Excited to have him, and look forward to get to meet Lawrence once we figure out how we can get people together for a meal. All the Ring of Honor folks get together. We buy him dinner at least once a year when we can, when COVID allows it. So looking forward to doing that. With me for this post-game show is Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB, and Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11. I need to take a step back here as the person who picked the Seahawks to lose this game and was pretty low on this team in general, and let Evan and Nathan talk about what they saw. I think both of you picked a Seahawks victory. Is that right?
Did we?
I did. I don't remember.
I don't remember what I did.
I think I was the only one that picked the Seahawks.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah. So, Evan, you got a little call out online from one of the 49ers beat reporters when it was looking pretty bad early. How's that going?
Yeah. So I think the first thing top of mind for me is where's the Bang Bang Niner gang party later tonight? I'm curious where the Bang Bang we're occasionally faithful gang party is. I saw all these parties on Twitter over the past few years, and just not seeing any mention of it after this game. So it's a little weird to me. Does anybody know?
Nathan, have you heard?
I no, I didn't get the invitation.
Okay. Interesting. Because the faithful can go
like trash. The 49ers are ass.
The faithful can go fuck themselves. And you know why? Only Seahawks fans are allowed to shit on our football team. The Niners you're not allowed to shit on our football team. Only us. Only us deserve the right to shit on our favorite football team. So go fuck yourselves. Baby daddy Russ just dicked you down on live television. Okay. And Trey Lance was a hot piece of garbage. What the fuck else is there to say? The first half was complete garbage. I don't even want to think about it. The defense played well, but, for the most part, that first half of football, at least in my opinion, was pretty unwatchable. But, man, it's just so good to see the faithful so quiet on Twitter. That, you see Grant Cohn's Twitter, whatever the heck his name is, Twitter, of how they're the worst team in the NFC West now. Man, I'll tell you this. It's one game. But if Trey Lance is not a legit starter several years down the road, that franchise is in a big, big hole. Who knows? We may have overestimated the death of the Seahawks.
Nathan, where are you at? What did you think of the game that you just witnessed? Talk about what you thought about what it meant for the Seahawks, and talk about what you thought it meant for the 49ers.
I mean, the win is huge, obviously. They were looking down a scary stretch, and so they've got one of the worst teams that they are going to play over the next 3 or 4 games. They got to win against them, and so that's massive, and they got it on the road in the division, all that. So I think from the season perspective, this was big. If they had dropped this going into the Rams game, it could have gotten real bleak real fast. In terms of like, where am I on the team though? I don't know that this game answered a ton of questions. I think the defense definitely looked better, but also had some rough stretches. The offense did start the game with 5 straight 3-and-outs, which is, if we had reversed this game, I think people will be losing their mind about the second half, right? Struggles again. So there's still that question about how consistent can this offense be, but they pretty well thumped what looks like a fairly bad Niners team. I didn't see a lot to be super impressed with against San Francisco. So, and they better hope Lance gets a whole lot better pretty soon, because he looked mostly kind of awful, I thought.
Yeah, sorry, I was frantically looking for a troll statistic I had to find. It's a Seahawks troll thing, although I have to say, we'll talk about it in more detail. Sidney Jones had some highs and some lows. I do want to point out Sidney Jones did one thing that Trey Flowers has not done in 3 games. He had a pass break. Trey Flowers, I just verified, has 0 passes defense this year. Did manage to have a holding call in this game on a fair catch of all things. So yeah, we'll talk more about Sidney Jones, but I had to get that in because I was curious. Yeah, so as someone who is, as low as you can get on the Seahawks, I mean, I super low on the Seahawks, but also thought that this was a coin flip game. I picked the Niners 27-24, could go either way. But given what I'd seen, the way the Seahawks were playing, didn't think the Seahawks were in position to beat much of any team. And the way the game started, not only looked like they were going to get beaten, it looked like it was going to be humiliating, right? Like the defense was stopping nothing. 49ers scored a touchdown on their first possession without any problem. It looked much like everything else we've seen. Chunk play, like bit by bit by bit. Couldn't stop the run, couldn't stop the pass, couldn't get the pass rush going. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, defense started making stands. And I'm going to have to go back and watch the game because I was definitely switching between the Mariners game and this game. And then it was like, what the hell's going on in offense? I mean, the offense started off horrible. The defense held, and you're like, okay, now come on, offense. Nope. Defense held again. Come on, offense. Nope. And they just couldn't find their way. And lo and behold, Mr. Cannon on Trenton Cannon for the 49ers may be the MVP of this game. He made some of the worst special teams plays I've ever seen, but the worst I've seen in a long time was when they had a punt that was easily going to be down inside the 5-yard line. 49ers are up 7-0 at that point. Seahawks offense had done nothing. He catches it and rolls into the end zone. Like, what the hell? And that was huge. Seahawks take it down. They score a touchdown, tie the game. He then fumbles. Like, he was a disaster today. I feel bad for the kid a little bit, but he does wear 49er colors. So, screw him. So, yeah.
Today felt so good. Like, I think I'm mostly in the Nathan camp just because he said it first. Like, I still do have concerns about this team moving forward. And obviously Thursday is a huge pivotal game this season. But doesn't it just feel good to just stomp the fuck out of the Niners?
They really ended up doing that, didn't they? Like, it was 28-13 with less than 2 minutes to go.
I'd be interested to know how many offensive drives the Niners had today.
Felt like they had quite a few, right? I mean,
it seemed like quite a few.
They had 13 drives.
13 drives, and they scored how many points?
20. Well, they ended up with 21.
Okay, but 13 basically until the last minute.
I will say, Cannon definitely deserves an honorary game ball. I think Kyle Shanahan does too.
Talk to me.
He refused. He just kept putting his punter out there to try to kick field goals and extra points. That was dumb as hell. I don't know why he put Lance in, and then why he kept Lance in once it was pretty clear Lance wasn't gonna do it. And the way they called plays too, you could just tell they didn't have any faith there. And I also thought part of what swung this game was that dumbass flea flicker or whatever it was they tried. It felt like they were ripping off 6, 8, 12-yard gains just pretty consistently. And out of the blue, they try a flea flicker, or I don't know what it technically is. It's not technically a flea flicker, but whatever you call that. And it didn't work out, and it put him in, I think, a third and long, or put him in a longer down situation, and Seattle's defense got off the field. I thought Shanahan was kind of terrible in this game.
It sounds like, Nathan, you have the same question I do about the Trey Lance piece. The report was that Trey Lance was put in because Jimmy Garoppolo had a calf injury. He looked pretty fine. Like, I don't remember seeing anything. Like, it seemed like a convenient way to handle things to have it be an injury that the reason Trey Lance came in. But I thought it was just because the offense was completely doing nothing and they wanted to try something else. So are you ignoring what they said about the calf and you believe it was just a decision by Kyle Shanahan?
I didn't catch that. I didn't hear that they said it was because of his calf. But yeah, I mean, knowing that they said that, it doesn't really change my mind much, because I agree with you. I didn't really see anything that would have told me that Garoppolo was hurt. So that's kind of a surprise.
Do we even know what play he got potentially injured on?
No.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Not only that, but here's the push it a little further. To your point, Nathan, like, why would they leave him in when Lance just didn't look that good? The rumors are that Shanahan wasn't necessarily enamored with picking Lance, and so maybe he wanted to make a point to everybody that Lance is not that good and shouldn't be in. So I don't know. That seems like a little bit of a stretch, but what I was really hoping as like icing on the cake in this game was to just shit all over 49ers dreams of Trey Lance. And there was enough that he did, even though it was really like that touchdown to Deebo Samuel was like,
that was a joke. That
blown coverage.
It was a terrible throw too. Like, that ball just kind of like fluttered, and I don't know. I mean, Deebo was wide open. He could have just zipped it out to him and, easy touchdown. But
yeah, I mean, there were several throws that were pretty off.
He's not that good.
Like, the accuracy was not there.
No. Like, there are certain people that have been really scared of Trey Lance getting in the game for the 49ers. And I don't think those people have to worry. Like, I think Lance, yes, certainly is talented, but he's a running quarterback that has a good arm and is inaccurate and is inexperienced and is going to make bad plays a lot. I thought the Seahawks could have had like 5 sacks today, but yeah. Anyway, I thought he was bad, but not horrible. I was hoping he would just be awful.
He looks like an extremely raw Colin Kaepernick. Like, I think the arm talent is there. I mean, he can zing it for sure. And, running the ball, I mean, he's electric. Like, he can definitely move. He's fast and he's shifty. Probably a lot shiftier than Kaepernick was probably. But, like, in terms of just knowing what to do on the football field, didn't show a lot of that.
Yeah, let's take a couple more seconds on the 49ers, and we're going to come back to it. And then we'll come back to the Seahawks as well. There's still much to talk about with the Seahawks, but they're now 2-2, right? They're last place in the division. They were handled really pretty easily by a Seahawks team that I don't think any of us think is a good team yet. Like, let me stop there. Did any of you exit this game being like, all right, Seahawks are awesome. Like, they're a good team. We're like looking all golden for this game against the Rams coming up on Thursday?
No, but if they win on Thursday night, oh, buddy.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Anyway, I just think, like, I look at this team. I think we all talked about that this stretch of 5 days between Monday and Thursday, with Seahawks playing the 49ers and then the Rams, was potentially going to be the turning point or the end, or whatever you want to talk about, end of an era with Pete Carroll, maybe with Russell Wilson, with John Schneider. You didn't know if this went really wrong, how this could turn out. I think that there's a chance this could end up being the other. It could be for the 49ers. Like, there was already a lot of Shanahan, like, rumors and rumbles going around. I went with Nathan. I thought this was the 49ers should have won this game. Like, they had, I think this was a pretty bad L for the 49ers. all the way around. So I wonder where that franchise is going. They used all this capital to get Trey Lance. Is he good enough? The defense, Nick Bosa, like, had a couple plays, but was pretty quiet. Like, I don't know. I mean, where do you guys see? Do you guys have similar questions about the 49ers? Or do you just think this is just another game?
I do. I mean, I thought in the first half, there were stretches there where it looked like two of the worst teams in football playing each other. When Seattle was in the middle of that 5-3 and out streak, but then like I just kind of kept waiting. And I'm like, okay, it's 7-0, 7-0, still 7-0. This is kind of, and so at some point it was just like they're gonna blow. The Niners have like manhandled the Seahawks in a lot of ways, especially in the first quarter and into the second quarter, and it's like, oh, they're gonna blow this. That's insane. And yeah, I mean, the Seahawks figured it out, to some degree, and put some points on the board and got themselves a lead, and the Niners just kind of never did. So if I'm a Niners fan, yeah, I think I have a lot of angst about where they are. And, we're looking a couple days ahead to the Rams now. They get the Cardinals next, which is probably scarier at this point. So yeah, I mean, they have some questions ahead of them too. They get the Cardinals, then they get a couple, hopeful wins for them, Colts and Bears, and then they get the Cardinals again and the Rams again. So they got a tough stretch too.
I got a question for you both. Defensively, so obviously I think we're all in agreement that the defense took a step in the right direction today. It wasn't an all-star performance, but I think it was a step in the right direction. How do we feel Sidney Jones played today?
Nathan, you want to take that?
Sure. I didn't think he played particularly well. I mean, he had a couple plays early where he obviously just got completely exposed on, against two good players. Kittle posted him up basically, and then Debo just got a pretty good release on him and just ran away from him. And so at that point, it looked real rough for him. And then in the second half, they put in Lance and kind of never wanted to throw the ball again. So it's a little hard to say kind of where his day ended up. I mean, there's a question about whether it was him or Adams that was responsible for the bust. I think even if it is Jones there, just with how new he is to the system, maybe you don't worry much about that. But I think big time, still wait and see on Sidney Jones.
Yeah, I had a different read. I agree that, so it was Ross Dwelley that actually scored the touchdown on him, I think, early on. And then the other touchdown.
Oh, that wasn't Kittle?
No, it was Dwelley's. Yeah.
I just assumed.
Yeah. It's this big tight end. But and then the bust definitely looked like it was on Sidney, but it was also on Marquise Blair. Marquise Blair completely got sucked up and he was the safety that's supposed to be back and was not. So there is, and yes, terrible, sucks, but it's his first game in this system and with this team. To have a busted coverage to me is not an indication of talent, or like a lack of talent. That was more just, still breaking it in with this team, like the guys that actually were starters were having screwed up, coverages the first 3 weeks of the season. So, it's understandable. I thought every play other than those two, I saw Sidney Jones either right on the guy catching the ball or potentially affecting the pass. And I saw him a step faster than Trey Flowers for sure. And I saw him a step closer. I'm not saying he was an A or some great player, but to me, for the plays that were like legit coverage plays, other than those two we talked about, I thought he was a clear improvement over Trey Flowers. I also thought DJ Reed moving over to the other side of the field because Sidney Jones was in seemed to be a little bit quicker and a little bit more on. I don't know if that's true, but that was just an impression I came away with.
Well, and I think I don't want to be taking too much away from the defense here. They played mostly well, but I do think that this is a simpler offense for a defense to like attack. Yeah, Blair is maybe partially responsible for that, the busted coverage and the touchdown on that. Maybe if he's in the right spot, he saves the touchdown at least. But he was crashing down those intermediate crossers, which is, how Diggs got his. I think Adams at one point broke up a ball doing the same thing. So Seattle was doing that all day long and was very successful in it. I think, if there's not the miscommunication between Adams and Jones, Lance probably never throws that ball in the first place. So I think that Seattle did have an advantage here in terms of how much they felt they could attack and get downhill, just because it's not an offense that's definitely not going to stretch you vertically much, right?
No, they're not. It's hard because, oh man, my computer's all frozen. I saw this earlier. The Seahawks had, there we go, 9 pass breakups today. And I want to actually ask before I go into a long monologue on this. Who do you guys give game balls to for the Seahawks? Like, let's start with like who do you feel like played a really good game for Seattle, or who were like the guys that were the key to victory? And then I think I'd like to hear who you thought were maybe some guys that, if they don't get mentioned, were like under the radar contributors. Evan, do you have someone that comes to mind as like who you give the game ball to? And feel free to call it a couple if they come to mind.
Yeah, I think Jamal Adams had a really strong game. He was all over the place. He stopped a clear touchdown in the end, even though they still scored. Ryan Neal had a really good game, actually. Mm-hmm. Alex Collins, that's somebody I think a lot of people are going to forget about. I think his performance was really impressive today. Those are the 3 guys that come to mind, though. Am I missing anybody key?
There's some others, but those are really fascinating. And Nathan, I can only imagine what you think when you hear that Ryan Neal and Jamal Adams were 2 of the 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Neal was I think Jamal Adams was maybe the 3rd best safety today. I mean, Neal wasn't really playing safety today, so that's cheating a little bit. No, I think Neal is a good one. Honestly, I mean, Alex Collins did jump to mind when you first brought it up. I mean, he looked good. And the whole offensive turnaround did kind of happen to coincide when they finally put him out there. I don't think I give him a lot of credit for that, but he was playing well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think anyone really played that exceptionally well. I think a lot of guys just kind of did their job. I mean, yeah, I think Russ probably deserves some credit there, if nothing else, than for the Swain touchdown.
That was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that was insane.
I think, and he also had the rushing touchdown. Like,
yeah, that was nice.
I thought this was not Russell Wilson at his best, but this was Russell Wilson like doing what it was necessary to win that game. Like he made like that play that we're talking about to Swain. Very few players make that play, right? Like that was all Russ. Awesome play.
What are the chances Russell swore on that rushing touchdown after swinging his fists and his arms, and how many F-bombs were dropped? That's what I want to know.
You mean frick bombs?
I think there was probably 1 F-bomb and then a couple heck yeahs.
Heck yeah. I'm so proud of us. Good job, team. Good effort. Can't wait to see you at Bible study later.
Oh, no. What about Jordan Brooks? I thought Jordan Brooks has played 2 awful games. And I don't know that this was a perfect game, but I mean, that hit he had on Kittle was, I was like, I cannot believe Kittle got up. That looked like a season ender, maybe a career ender. That was awful. I don't know if you noticed, Kittle really was a non-factor after that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that he did get injured on that play and just kept playing anyway. Brooks had the sack. I don't know. I thought he had a more impactful game. I thought Jamal Adams, it's interesting you brought him up, Evan. He didn't have like an amazing game from my perspective, but we felt him today. Like he made plays in coverage. He made plays, tackling guys. I don't know. He just was there today. Like you noticed he was playing, and that was just nice to see. Because he's been super quiet.
It was nice to see. Yeah, Diggs got an interception. That was that our first interception of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was only our second turnover takeaway of the year. The other one was against the Colts when Carson Wentz fumbled the fourth down.
No major injuries, right? Outside of Dunlap potentially.
I don't think the Dunlap injury is major. I think it's like cramping or like a foot sprain or something. Well, I guess we'll see, but
Okay.
Oh, the other thing we didn't mention about the 49ers, we'll get back to the Seahawks in a second, I promise. But Trent Williams looked like a pretty serious injury. Like anyway, they could be in real dire straits. Do we think that Alex Collins played well enough that you're like, he and Chris Carson should be splitting carries?
Man, it's getting close.
I think it is. I mean, Nathan's loving this, right? They're all the same, right?
I mean, I've been saying this for a while. I mean, there were stretches where I thought Hyde looked real good too, and now Collins is looking real good. It's almost as if they're all practically the same. Yeah.
But if that's true, then you would just say, yeah, I don't care who plays. Is that the case, or do you think that Collins actually looked better today than Carson in his
Collins looked way better in terms of backing up my priors. So I'm 100% in on Collins. Yeah.
So you don't mind if I suit up in the backfield?
No, see, there's there's a low bar, a bottom bar of like, are you NFL athlete quality, right? So we don't have a screen big enough here, but here, like my other hand is on the ground for you, Evan. All right. So
yeah, and people that don't know, Nathan is extremely tall. He's like 16'4" or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. For folks curious, Alex Collins finished with 10 carries for 44 yards, 4.5 yards a carry, and a touchdown. That touchdown run was not a run that every running back makes. That was a pretty nice read, set of reads, nice agility on that. Chris Carson finished with 13 carries for 30 yards, 2.3 yards a carry. His long was 8. Alex Collins also had 2 catches for 34 yards, including a 28-yarder. That was a key play that started the Seahawks' first touchdown drive. Chris Carson had 1 catch for 1 yard. I just thought Collins looked livelier. I don't know if the guys blocked better for him. It's hard to say, but he was just a better player than Chris Carson today. And I'm certainly a Chris Carson fan, but I won't be sad if Alex Collins and him are alternating series. If anything, it'll keep Carson fresh. Like, I don't think that there's a real downside to Collins getting more carries.
I was talking with somebody on Twitter and they were saying that, Collins is faster or quicker than Carson. And I don't really think that's true so much, but like the style wise, Collins is much more willing to kind of shake and bake and try to make moves and stuff, whereas Carson definitely has more of a knock you in your grill type mentality.
What do we think about the offensive line today?
Well, so this is what I was trying to think of when you asked about game balls, because I feel like the way things kind of on offense, how that came together in the second half, like I stopped thinking about how bad the offensive line was every play. So something changed. I don't really know what it was. I don't know who gets the credit for that. I think Dwayne Brown probably at least has to get some of the credit because he was getting whipped pretty regularly by Bosa. And that seemed to dry up. So it seemed like in the second half, I don't know where the credit goes for it, but they certainly seem to play a lot better.
Yeah, Evan, I don't know if you agree. That was the thing that stood out to me because they were awful to start the game. I mean, they were as bad. I think everybody was pretty bad to start the game. I don't think there's someone you can call it and say, hey, they were doing well. But then it got quiet. Seahawks started making some positive plays. Like there was very few negative plays in the run game, and there were quite a few in the early part of the game. Pass protection seemed pretty good. And I don't know if they started keeping extra guys because I just wasn't watching that carefully, but Russ was not running for his life in the second half. The major like pressure play I remember with Russ in the second half is the touchdown like that he escaped. So I don't know. I thought I would at least give them a half a game ball there for righting the ship because they were losing the game all by themselves to start that game.
Yeah, the first half was a steaming pile of garbage from the offense. The offensive line played horribly. DK dropped, I think, a ball or two. The early down play sequencing decisions were really kind of mind blowing. I just want to forget that first half actually ever happened. To be quite honest,
what did we think of DK Metcalf's game today, Evan?
I think he played well. No major complaints.
Nathan, I know from that face you feel otherwise. How did you feel about it?
I mean, I think we have to have a higher bar for DK than that. I mean, I thought there was at least one or two drops outside of the controversial deep ball one, which in fairness, like that the ball from Russ wasn't right either. Right?
Are you talking about the right sideline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, and that was heartbreaking because I don't know. I watched it like because they were all up, and you're like, oh, it's cover zero, and so it's just like, oh, here we go, and he has a little out and up, and just comes wide open, and then the throw isn't great, and then it was heartbreaking. I didn't. How many targets did Tyler have? Like one, and it came in the second half.
5 targets, 4 catches. DK had 8 targets, 4 catches.
Oh, all right. Well, then I don't remember. I remember like one Tyler target. I thought both of them weren't good enough. Like they didn't play very well. Because they were the Niners were down their 2 starting corners, right?
They're down like 4 corners. They're like way down their depth chart. Yeah.
So it was pretty surprising to not see those two, eat a lot more.
Did you see John Schneider say in pregame though that they basically were sucking up their injuries, and I just don't know how much of a role that potentially influenced.
I thought Tyler looked injured. He looked injured for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's actually I should have probably just led with that. I think that's 100% what it is. I doubt either of them are right health wise.
But DK, so it was a mixed bag for me on DK. I thought, given that he is playing injured, I thought he looked closer to himself than Tyler did and played aggressively, physical. Like he was taking it to them when he had the ball. He was that touchdown that I think probably wasn't a touchdown, but whatever. They gave it to him. It was real close. That was a physical, like aggressive play. He had a great play on the screen where he made Mosley missed and then, took it. Like there were some nice DK plays in there. But I'll also say, I think his route running I don't know if you guys listen to the Matt Hasselbeck show at all. But he talked about it this week about how DK's playing multiple positions now. He's playing the slot even and doing things that a lot of big fast players aren't willing to do or don't do. And I just think his route running looked great. He's shaking guys off, getting open, but his hands, man, are, if everything else about DK or everything close to else is like a 9 or a 10 out of 10, like in terms of talent, his hands are like, I feel like they're like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10. And it's not just like bone-headed drops. Like he's not good at jump balls. Whenever there's like a contested catch, I have more confidence in Tyler making a contested catch than I do DK making a contested catch. That should not be when you're 6'4", 230 and can jump like 50 inches. Like anyway, so yeah, I agree with you. Russ's throw was short. If Russ had thrown it deeper, DK probably has a touchdown on that play. So definitely like not the greatest throw, but it wasn't bad. That was a good throw. And everyone like they gave Mosley all the credit for knocking it away. That ball hit DK's hands, went through his hands, and Mosley never touched it. So does Julio Jones make that catch? I think he does. Like, so I would have liked to seen a little bit more from DK Metcalf.
We have a couple updates from pressers if you guys want those. All right. So first of all, I think this is bad news for Dunlap, especially if you were thinking it was just cramps. Apparently he has a toe issue of some kind, which is troublesome. Those are nagging usually. Agboihi apparently is fine. So this is more positive. Agboihi was okay, I guess, or not hurt at least. Seahawks just wanted Jake Curran to play more. Maybe that was part of what turned around in the second half. I wasn't watching closely enough to tell. Big mistake in the secondary, Carol says, was on Sidney Jones. But so he otherwise like to play the secondary. So there you
go. How much do you guys think Eskridge would help this team? Seems like he's due back this week. I mean, we've been saying that for weeks, but let's say he gets back this week. Like, how much do you think he changes the trajectory of the offense?
Somebody put in the super chat that the play of Freddie Swain is making the Seahawks look dumb for taking Eskridge over Creed Humphrey. Not sure if I'm quite on board there in terms of the sweaty frame, the Freddie Swain part of it. But Humphrey obviously looks awesome so far from everything I've heard. I don't want to get like too excited because we saw him for like 2 plays and they were just like end arounds or whatever. I think Eskridge could potentially have a big impact on this because I still think the way he moved on just a couple plays against the Colts looked really special. There's some explosion and burst and ability to get upfield and run with the ball. He's not just a receiver. He's not going to get tripped up. It looks like, I mean, he can, fall forward, especially out there against other DBs and stuff. So my hopes are still way up there, I think, for Eskridge. I think he could make a major impact, especially right now with DK and Lockett are having to kind of work through some injury stuff. That's definitely a place where they still get some explosion. Swain has looked good. I just don't see him as like he's not a game changer by any means.
No, he's just a guy to me. I mean, he's a quality 4th receiver. He is not a quality 3rd receiver.
You guys are so down on the Swain train. What the heck is this?
I'm not meaning it in a bad way. Like I like Swain. I mean, he's been super dependable. He does a lot of stuff for them. I like Freddie Swain. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy,
He's a high floor, low ceiling guy, though.
He's an awesome wide receiver 4.
I'll take that for wide receiver 3, even, frankly.
No.
Oh, dude, David Moore was like...
You're not trying to tell me David Moore was a better wide receiver 3 than Freddie Swain.
No.
I think they do different things well.
Sure.
David Moore offered far more explosive play potential than Freddie Swain ever will.
Sure, but Freddie Swain is much more consistent and reliable.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I will take explosive touchdowns over 28-yard games any day, personally, but that's just me.
They're going to need Eskridge on Thursday.
Yeah. Before we talk about that for a second, I'm just curious, like, give me for you guys quickly, what would you grade the offense, the defense, and the coaching in this game, A through F, for the Seahawks?
I'll go C+ for both the offense and the defense. I'm trying to think of anything notable coaching wise. The only thing that really comes up is that bizarre into the first half. Which wasn't even that bizarre because, okay, you take the timeout, you want to get the ball back, it gets muffed. So yeah, just run out the clock. But then to run this a second time was kind of odd. I don't have any like reason to knock the coaches. So, I mean, I guess in terms of, okay, well, clearly they didn't come out with the best game plan. So I'll give them a B. They gas in terms of like 4th down decisions or anything like that. I think the coaches were fine.
Yeah, I'll go with a B+ for the coaching staff. I thought their early down decision making in the first half was really frustrating, but ultimately there were a lot of things going wrong, frankly, with the offense. Defense, I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go a B- on the defense. I think they earned that today. They really kept us in the game in the first half, to be quite honest with you guys. Like we are very lucky that was a 7-point game through 2 quarters, if we're just being honest. The offense, I'm going to go down to a C+ too. I was encouraged by what I saw in the second half, but it's very hard for me to completely forget about what I saw in the first half. So yeah, those are my rankings.
So I've got to give the defense like At least a B.
Are you grading them on a curve though?
Well,
That's
no.
what I was
I
gonna
mean,
ask,
think about
yeah.
this. They gave up a touchdown on the first possession, and then San Francisco went 11 possessions before they scored again. Wait, let me make sure I have that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 possessions. Like, and they were getting nothing from the offense at all. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Mm-hmm.
And like the 49ers, as much as we shit on them, like they put up what, 28 against the Packers? Is that what you're right? So I don't know. Like, I think at least a B to me. And it's weird because they gave up so many yards, but they also created a turnover. And like we said, the 49ers had 13 points until just like until garbage time. So and of those 13 points, one came on a total blown coverage where, yes, it's still the defense's fault, but it was like in the plays where they were actually like, I don't know, compared, yes. So the comparison, I would say it would be even higher, but and honestly, that's part of why I end up giving the coaches like an A- for this. Like, I was just being totally honest, I was so down on the offense, the defense, well, mostly the defense, the coaching, and then I thought the offense still was not, I said on the show this week, they were B+. They were not an A, and I think the team needs them to be an A. So I just give the coaches a ton of credit because they turned this defense, with the help of the players, obviously, from just couldn't stop anybody at any point to holding the 49ers on the road after they'd scored a touchdown for 8 straight possessions and keeping them in the game and holding the team to 13 points. I thought that was pretty impressive.
I want to be clear about this, Brian, and I want to see where your head is at with this. I'm cautiously optimistic that the defense might be trending in the right direction, but both San Francisco quarterbacks looked god awful today. So I don't want to discount their defensive performance because they did play well. You know what I mean? But Jimmy Garoppolo looked like complete garbage. Trey Lance was horrifically, inaccurate. Matt Stafford is a different type of player.
They lost 4 points to pregame kicker injury too, right? I mean, or the Seahawks defense gained 4 points that way.
Yeah,
right?
I want to be clear. I'm not discounting their performance because I think they played well today. But I'm not fully bought in yet, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Look, dude,
just want to make sure you're not like the offense is or the defense is fixed.
No.
Okay, cool.
No. The things that were encouraging to me about the defense, besides just the results, was I did think that this was the best offensive line that they've gone up against since, well, maybe all season. Like, I think, they have some really good, solid, even their worst player is probably Alex Mack, and he's still a solid center, like knows what he's doing. And I thought there was better pressure this week than we've seen. It wasn't great, but I thought it was better than we've seen. And I just thought that some of the players that we've been really down on, Jamal, Jordan Brooks, the cornerbacks, I thought they were better. I'm not saying they were like, everything's perfect now, but I thought they were better. So, yeah, I don't know how you could say that's not a step in the right direction, but you are stepping out from the grave. Like, you're not stepping onto the top of a throne or top of a mountain or something like that. So like, there's a long way to go before you can start feeling good about the defense.
Yeah, this game gave you hope that they can be that 15th to 20th ranked defense that was kind of like what we all hoped they would at least be, instead of like, oh God, are they going to be one of the worst defenses in the league?
Well, yeah, and I think it's your point, Evan. Who are the two victories? Who are the quarterbacks of the two teams that they beat this year? Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo / Trey Lance. And yeah, so I don't think anyone thinks either of those guys are particularly good. They're definitely going to play someone who people think is good on Thursday. Do it against them. Like, I'm not saying that. Let me ask you this. What would for you guys be like a point total that if the Seahawks held the Rams to on Thursday, you'd say, that's impressive.
I probably won't say it's impressive, but if they can get away with holding the Rams under 30 points, I'll be happy. Like, I'll feel fine about this team for the rest of the year.
That's such a low bar. Less than 30 points.
What would be impressive though? What would be impressive?
Impressive
what
is 20 or less.
Yeah.
I think 24 or less for me. I'd go that high. Like,
Yeah.
maybe even 25. Like, yeah. So I think, I mean, the Rams have been running over people. They didn't today, but
yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
what do you think about that? Yeah, what do you think about the Cardinals Rams result?
The Cardinals dominated. I don't know if you guys had that game on like simultaneously or not, but Kyler Murray looks good. He clearly looks like he's taken a new step every single year. They obviously have a stud receiving group. I think that was a big win to go into LA today and smack them in their own house, you know, full of a sold out packed crowd. I think they're looking like the best team in the NFC West now. And that's not, you know, some super intellectually surprising sort of type of analysis, but they look good.
I mean, I think one of the stories, you start with Kyler Murray, and sure, Kyler Murray deserves credit, but they rushed for 216 yards against the Rams, and 120 of that's from Chase Edmonds. Another 50 was from James Conner. And yes, 39 was from Kyler Murray. But one of the things that's kept me, I said this earlier this week, from being like super impressed with the Rams is I don't think their defense is as good as it was last year. Like, I thought their defense was really, really good last year, and I don't think it's really, really good this year. The Bears game, they won that by a fair amount of points, but Andy Dalton and David Montgomery were like running the ball down their throat like that whole game. So yeah. I mean, credit to the Cardinals. Putting up 37 points is a lot. But yeah, I think it's the Rams defense you got to ask questions about. Nathan, you have any thoughts about Arizona or LA before we move on? Start wrapping up.
No, I don't think I have anything too insightful on them.
Okay, fellas, what have we missed? Anything else you want to say? I mean, we should shit on the 49ers a little bit longer. I mean, it feels like this might be our high point of the season. So come on.
It just feels so good to beat them. It just feels so good. They talk so much shit every single year, even if it's unwarranted. And for them to get smacked in their own house by a team that might arguably be worse than them, I think that's up for debate. It just feels good.
Wait, is there any question about who the better team is after that game? Even with the way that game started?
I think so, yeah.
I don't have any question. Like the Seahawks could look bad again for the next few weeks, and when they roll up against the Niners again, I'm going to feel pretty confident because
yeah, but that's just the quarterback competitive edge, is it not?
I mean, maybe, but like that's a big deal.
No, it is a big deal. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel better about the rest of their roster than probably ours.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between you two on that one. I'm not ready to say the Seahawks are like clearly better than anybody.
Yeah,
like, I'm just not yet. Like,
they got to earn that trust, man. They got to earn it.
They looked like a bottom dwelling team for a decent chunk of the beginning of this game, and then to their credit, like won the game, like and looked like, to your point, Nathan, clearly the better team. But I can't just forget what happened for what was, if you count the second half of the Titan game, it's basically 2 full games. They looked like one of the worst teams that we've seen in Seattle in a long time. So
there's something so demoralizing though about, I mean, if I was a Niner fan, to watch that drive after drive, and it's 7-0 and it's 7-0, and the other team, you see this sometimes in like college football where, or just any sport sometimes, where a clearly better team is just playing like ass, like just awful. And the other team is like either hanging in there or like has a lead. But like, I mean, at first it was very upsetting as a Seahawks fan, but then as it got into the second quarter, it had that feel like they don't have the juice, right? Like it became very clear, like this Niners team, and I think I tweeted it pretty early on, they're not going to run away with this, right? This might be an awful game, and the Seahawks might look like ass all game long, and it felt like the Niners were going to win it like 13-3, because at no point did it seem like that offense was going to do enough.
Yeah, I hear you. And if I'm a Niners fan, that's a totally different question. I'm pretty worried. If I'm being honest with myself, I look at their quarterback situation, what they gave up to get Trey Lance, their coaching situation, which seems tenuous and maybe like not harmonious, and their injury situation. Nick Bosa has been injured a bunch. George Kittle, as good as he's been, has been injured a lot and looks like he might have another injury type season. Yeah, and I mean, guys like D Ford, I don't think those guys are long-term players for your team. Anyway, I have questions about that team and their future. I don't know that you can say that they're clearly on the ascent. And
I called them fraudulent, a week ago, and I got a ton of hate for it, but I think today validated that. They are a lot's riding on Trey Lance, and that's obvious, but today didn't look good for him.
I think the absolute worst position you can be in as an NFL franchise is to have a quarterback who's not capable of being a Super Bowl quarterback. And especially if they're young and you're invested them with a big contract for a long time. And that's where the 49ers are. I don't know that either of the guys that they have is capable of winning a Super Bowl. Certainly Garoppolo was there with them, but that was such an overly talented roster that they don't have anymore. And they won't again with Garoppolo or Lance. So I feel like they're kind of stuck. Their ceiling is set by Lance at this point. And I don't know if I've seen anything that makes me think that he's a Super Bowl quarterback.
I don't know if you guys saw the quote a couple of minutes ago. Shanny said, based on, how Garoppolo looks health-wise, he's probably going to be starting next week.
Garoppolo will, or Lance will?
Garoppolo.
So this adds credence to I think it's total bullshit. I think he was fine.
I do too. I don't even think he got injured. Well, I don't want to speculate like into injury stuff, but yeah. I don't remember a play where he got like dragged down weird or something like that.
He wasn't even getting any treatment. He was just standing there on the sideline. So like, I don't know. All right, guys, let's wrap it there. Unless you have anything else before we close up shop.
Yeah, fuck the Niners.
Amen to that. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. Congrats on the Seahawks win. Congrats to the Mariners on what was an awesome season. 162 games worth watching, and going to be more fun next year. If you haven't already, please give the show a like. Please click subscribe. We're over 7,000 subscribers and growing. Click the bell to get notified when we go live, and join over on patreon.com/hawkblogger. Join the Real Hawk Talk community. You get immediate access to our Slack channel where the conversation continues in between the podcast and the articles and everything else. And we get to talk all the shit we want about the 49ers uninterrupted. It's awesome. So come on over, patreon.com/hawkblogger. Thank you to Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB and Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11. And I am Brian Nemhauser at Hawkblogger. We will see you Wednesday for the next episode.